Hello and welcome to the Energy Talk podcast. My name is Olubumi Olajide. This is episode 2 of our Campfire series where we interview young people from around the world doing interesting projects in the energy space. Today we're going all the way to Bolivia to meet a team that's building solar water distillers for local community in their city. We're going to be going through why they chose their project, the challenges they face so far, especially with the global events happening thanks to the COVID-19 outbreak, and how they choose to develop their project further even with all the challenges they're facing. This is going to be a very interesting conversation. Expect to be very inspired at the end of it, and I hope this causes you to get a bit more curious about the energy industry and even start your own projects. You never know. Be sure to know that you can reach out to us and we're very open to feedback. Our email will be in the show notes of this episode, and you can also reach us on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram at The Energy Talk. And without any further ado, let's meet our guest for this episode.
My name is Paola Carvajal, and I am from Bolivia. I live in Sucre, a small city of my country. I am studying my bachelor right now. I'm studying industrial engineering, and I really love to be part of Student Energy. Areli and I are the co-founders of the Student Energy chapter at the University of San Francisco Javier, also in our city, and we are part of a Student Energy Leaders Fellowship, and we just enjoy all the time talking about energy and doing projects, and I really admire the work you do on the podcast because it's something really cool but also difficult to do a podcast, to do the podcast. But I really love the topic you choose because energy is something that everybody needs to know, but we don't know. And even in our country, we have this problem that we talk about energy issues, energy, but we truly know what is energy and what is happening in the world. I would say that maybe no. So I really love to be part of Student Energy, and I really love to work with that young people around the world about projects of for a sustainable future, or doing projects about energy issues. I'm really in love with this work with energy around the world, and I'm really excited when I hear a story of a young people or a young person that is doing something in their countries or is doing something in their communities. It's really cool to hear the experiences and to learn from them and maybe apply one day in my city.
My name is Areli Diaz. I'm studying with Paola in the same university. Like Paola said, both of us with other two friends started the student English chapter in our university. We have already 1 year about in being here with student energy and be involved with all about student energy world with that fantastic young people that the team are. I really happy to meet more people with the same thoughts, with the same passion to create a great future. It's like, I don't know, to say that there are a lot of people around the world in different countries, different cities, and different situations also that have the same object to create a good future for young generations and future generations. So I would like to help to meet them and to work with them all together to achieve that goal.
So our project is called But Now. Maybe the name will change in the next month because we are building the project right now. But it is called Yaku for Life. That means like water for everyone. Yaku is a word in Quechua that is a indigenous language in our country, and it's like water for everyone. So uh, this project uh, is about like two phases. The first phase is that we want to develop an investigation about solar distillers and how these solar distillers are going to purify water, and especially in this technology we want to be used in rural areas where there are no access to a system of purifying water, and that people could have access to like clean water with all the a specific need that it needs to have to be like healthy for everyone to drink, for example. So we want to do an investigation about solar distillers and what solar distiller would be the more efficient, because solar distillers are not efficient, and it's a technology that was developed a lot of years ago, but we identified that it's a very cheap way to purify water in rural communities that are far from system purifying as purifying systems of clean water in the cities. So this is the first part of our project. And the second part of our project is that we want to give like workshops in schools to teach young people and children and teenagers about what is energy, because we have like this valley of the death maybe that in our country, for example, uh, we speak a lot about energy, but it's energy stuck like in the real high places of our country. I mean, like government or just companies that we have not seen in our city, but neither in our country. Young people talking about sustainable energy or talking about energy systems. So we want to teach young people and teenagers, but also children, what is energy, what is climate change, and what are their their roles as human beings to be part of the war against climate change. By this I mean that we want to do like energy education for children and teenagers, but also the methodology we want to use in the workshop is to be really didactic, because we want children and young people to not just to know, but also to be part of it. With this, I mean that we want to do experiments. We want to create like solar cars with them. We want to do solar car races. I mean with this that we really want them to be part of this theory of change of energy, because it's something that we need to start talking about. But since we are really really small, and for example, I would like to have known about energy since I was a child. Since I was a child, so that's what we are doing for our project. And this idea started because we have worked in many workshops with children in our country, but we have seen many types of workshops like science education, or even a, a workshop for human rights and something like that. But we didn't see a workshop that could teach us about energy systems and what is our role and what we can do since our realities and our communities for climate change, and to make a more sustainable energy system for our countries.
Paola and Areli have chosen a really relevant project to work on for the last few months. So to just do a recap for everybody, they're building solar water distillers for rural communities, and they're also planning to organize energy literacy workshops to teach young people about energy. And now the key things to the things they're doing right now is they're trying to engage with communities that are already set up. And one thing that's very important is to get people in that community to really buy into your project, because you can't just introduce a new technology to the community and expect them to know how to use it, or expect them to even accept it as part of their everyday lives if you don't make them want to embrace it as their own. Basically, they have to see it as their own. And with this in mind, I asked Paola and Areli what they thought of community engagement, how important it was, and how much emphasis they're putting on it as they go further with their projects to really get people to understand that this is good for them and good for the environment, and this is the right direction to move towards. And here's what they said.
It's a really, really, I would say that it's the first topic we need to talk about doing social projects. Because if you are doing a social project, you need to know what the benefits or the people who is going to use this technology or social project uh, thinks about the project, about the initiative, or about the investigation. So I really think that letting know, for example, indigenous communities or rural communities in our country about this technology could be amazing, but also challenging because they have like a social structure in their communities. They have their ways of living, and I have seen many social projects in my country that failed because they didn't get this social engagement before doing the project. So I think that it's really important to talk about, for example, when you are doing like a project with solar panels or with any kind of uh, um, renewable energy, non-conventional, and you are doing in a rural community, you need to think and to say and to go to get in touch with that community to learn what they think, what they are doing. I I really believe that when you get engaged with all the community and when you learn what they do, how they do the things, what are their beliefs, you can get your technology in that community, but you need to be part of the community first. So for our project, we are we are going to like this investigation after it's finished. We would like to spread all the results to many organizations, but also with it could be like ambitious to talk with the government of social or of the rural communities and to say, we have investigated and we have this technology that could be helpful for your community. And you you are saying true that maybe uh they don't get like in touch, but or they are not concerned about many things. But also we know, and I have seen and Ariel knows that we have worked in another social project before about climate change and with women, with women, but they know what's happening in the world, but they don't have like all the knowledge, but they care more about environment. They have like in like like a belief what is the world, and if you touch that part of that belief that what is the world for them, you can connect the technology with their beliefs. And I also really believe that, for example, in our country, the indigenous communities believe in what is called Pachamama. That means in English, like the Earth Mother or something like that. They believe that the Earth is part of their lives, but in a more deep way. They think that Earth is the mother of all the creation. So these kind of beliefs are really interesting because you have the technology and you have the beliefs. So you just need a way to connect it. For example, Areli and I have worked in a social project with about climate change literacy with mothers of rural areas, and we see how challenging it is to talk about climate change and many things to another people that are not in the same world that you live in. So, uh, for example, in our project, the first thing I would do is to, in the case of children, for example, uh, to make it understand how important they are. Because when you have these little things in your soul, in your body that is moving you, you realize that you can do something, that you can be part of a change, you can do something to change the future or something like that. So I would like to do that first to let them know how important they are to change everything in our society. If we have a problem, what will change? I mean with this that when we have a problem, first we think that the present generation will change it. Yeah, they will change something, but the real changes will be lived by children, by teenagers. So I would like to let them know first how important they are to change things in our society. And the second thing that I would like them to know is how important is energy for development, because uh, especially with the participants of our workshop, uh, we know what is energy just in means of energy, but we have not talked in a deep way about what is energy system, about how our energy is produced, uh, how this energy system is polluting our world, and what is carbon footprint, for example. I didn't know anything of that before, since I was a child until I was, I don't know, 20 years old. I didn't know anything about energy systems, about climate change or pollution. I didn't know anything. So I would like to let them know first what is happening in our country, what is our energy matrix, what is our energy system, how we're polluting our world. And when you get like involved and when you know that first thing, you're capable of knowing all the rest of things because you get concerned about what is happening. So I really maybe do you want to add something more, please? I don't know.
Uh, yes, uh, I would like to, I don't know, to show them the reality of what is happening now. Uh, that climate change is happening now. We have to act now. We don't have the time to let the problem for future generation. One thing that happens a lot here in our city or in our country is that many people, especially adult persons, thinks that climate change don't involve our country or our region. Just for other countries like United States or Europe is just happening there, and in our countries, uh, it's all okay, and there will be no problem, or they think that there is no our fault, and we don't need to take to do something to fix it. So I will show them the reality that many communities in our country are facing, and explain them that climate change involves us and we have to work together to fix it.
Yeah, I would say the same as I really said, that we need to give like an scenario what is happening truly in our countries about energy access or something like that. For example, we want to teach them how important is energy not just for development but also as a part of our life, and how energy we have energy access in our city but we don't have the same cases in rural areas, and how fortunate we are in cities to have energy because of energy access, we have more opportunities for healthcare, we have more opportunities for education, for economic development, but the rural communities that don't have the energy access have less opportunities. So we want them to understand how important, how fortunate they are to have energy, but what we can do as individuals to change the situation about energy poverty in our world, but also in our country. And Areli said that it's really true that we want to make them understand, uh, just to contextualize all this climate change stuff happening around the world to the real life. Like climate change is happening in our world. It may be affecting the polar bears in the Antarctic, but how the climate change is affecting to you in your everyday life, for example.
Paola and Areli obviously have very strong motivations behind why they're working on their project. And even with all their strong zeal and the amazing work they've been doing so far, they've obviously run into some challenges, most notably thanks to the COVID-19 outbreak. So, with their university closing down, they don't have access to the lab they're going to use to build the solar water distillers, and that has led to serious delays. And Paola was worried they might not finish in time to meet their schedule. And of course, the work with their planning with the workshops, which they went to go to primary schools and talk to young people with social distancing measures in place. This is not something that's possible at this time. But Paola said something through that conversation I think perfectly summarizes the attitude she's taken into these challenges and how she sees the challenges
Really
that they have
for this
right now.
month, so that's going to delay our project, but it's not a reason for not doing it. So I could say that many social entrepreneurs around the world are facing the same thing right now. I would say that they don't need to stop. They just need to change the plans, but have the same objective at the end. And maybe the normality will not happen today and not tomorrow, but the COVID-19 have led us another opportunity to restart thinking about the things that are happening in our world, but also the ways that we were taking in our social projects. And also for us, it was a lesson to how we could improve our project, what could be changed. And it was like a last second change of everything in our project, but we know that it's going to be done. And I would say to many social entrepreneurs around the world, don't stop. Just continue doing what you are doing and rethink the things, and that's it for my part.
I hope you've enjoyed listening to Paola and Areli talk about their project. They're obviously very passionate about the work they're doing, and it's a very important project they've chosen. As two students studying industrial engineering, this is a wonderful application for their future skills, and I'm sure they'll learn lots of wonderful things along the way. Paola and Areli, if you're listening to this, thank you so much for joining me on the second episode of the Campfire series. I really had a great time talking with you guys, and I'm sure we're going to catch up in the next few weeks or in the next few months to see how much progress you've made, and we're always happy to help here. Me and the team will always be available. And to the listeners, thank you so much for listening to the second episode of the Campfire series. We still have many more episodes to come over the next 6 weeks, and we're going to be going to different parts of the world. The next episode, I believe we're going to Nepal. So we're going to be speaking with the team from Nepal about the project they're doing, and I look forward to that. We have a bunch of announcements we're going to be putting out soon regarding season 3, which is scheduled to begin in September. One of which is our search for a sponsor to help us fund some of the costs that go into the podcast production. This is something we've been considering for quite a while now, but we feel like we're in a good enough state to open ourselves up to a sponsor, and it's going to be something that's good for us and good for the listeners because we can produce at a much higher quality without the stress of finding money in between. And just as we're doing that as well, if you want to support us more directly financially, we're going to be starting up a Patreon. So if you think that you like what we're doing and you see value in it, you can feel free to join our Patreon and contribute towards our season 3 to help us get better equipment, better software, and just be better positioned to do the best for season 3. We would really appreciate anyone who supports us through our Patreon, and if you can't support us through our Patreon right now, that's also good. There's a way you can support us that's completely free. Just share the podcast with a friend or a colleague and join us next week on the Energy Talk podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating or review if you haven't already, and we will see you on the next episode of the Campfire series. Have a lovely week, and goodbye.